Hello and welcome to Unit 5, Video 3. Today we're going to go ahead and look at probability. So your learning target is that you can use combinations and permutations to find probability. So we've been working with combinations and permutations in our last video. So now we're going to go ahead and add in probability. So probability of success or probability of the event is the number of successful outcomes over the total possible outcomes. Okay, so the probability of an event occurring is always between 0 and 1. And it says inclusive, which means you can have a probability of 0 and you can have a probability of 1. They are included. Okay, 0 and 1. The closer the probability of an event is to 0, the less likely the event is to occur. Okay. And the closer the probability of an event is to 1, the more likely the event is to occur. Okay, so probability, remember, has to be between 0 and 1. This also means that it's in between 0% to 100%. Okay. Inclusive, so you can include them. Here's a little joke. If you want to take a second to read it, you can. It's funny because 101%, you can't have 101% probability. So, example 1. A bag contains 4 blue marbles, 3 green marbles, and 6 red. So the first thing right away I say to myself, what's my total number of marbles? So I would take 4 plus 3 plus 6. So that means there's a total of 13. Okay. Question A says, suppose you reach into the bag and draw 1 marble. Find the probability that 1 marble is green. Well, how many green marbles are there? There are 3. So the probability of getting a green is 3 out of 13. Okay, you can leave your answer as a fraction that is reduced all the way, or you can put it as a decimal. Okay, 3 divided by 13 is 0.231. Remember, round to 3 decimal places. So you can leave it as a decimal, or just so we understand, this means that it's to get a green is a 23.1% chance of that happening. B says, suppose you reach into the bag again and draw 1 marble. Find the probability that 1 marble was not red. Okay, so not red. Well, how many reds? I have 6 red. So figure out how many not red. There's, that's blue and green. Or you could say there's 6 red, so 13 minus 6 is 7. So there's 7 not red. 7 over 13, which is a reduced fraction, or it's 0.538. Okay, either one of those answers is acceptable. Example 2. What is the probability of selecting 2 vowels from the word algebra? Well, algebra, how many vowels are there? Our vowels are A, E, I, O, U. So for algebra, we have 2 A's and we have 1 E. Okay. And we're selecting a group. We're not putting them in an order. So in this case, it's going to be a combination. So we're just selecting vowels. How many vowels are there total to choose from? Well, we're choosing 3. And out of 3, we're selecting 2. So this one's a combination. Over, now our total. How many total letters are there? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And overall, we're choosing 2 from a group. Okay. So on our calculators, just a reminder on how to do that, we would go 3 math over to probability, and we're doing a combination, which is down to 3. C2. Okay, so we have 3 over, now we're going to do 7 math combination, C2. Okay, so it's 3 over 21. So I can do 3 divided by 21, and I know that they're both divisible by 3, so I could replace them. So 3 over 21, here it is as a decimal. If you wanted to go ahead and make it into a fraction on this calculator, you go math, frac, enter, enter, and here it is as a reduced fraction. Okay, so if I do it on my calculator, I got that this was 3 over 21, which is a reduced fraction. I just got on my calculator. You guys are all smart enough to figure that one out on your own, though. Reduces to 1/7, or it is equal to 0.143. So either one of these is an appropriate answer for example 2. Example 3. Okay. Julie has a collection of 32 albums on her iPad. 18 R&B, and 14 rap. As she is leaving for her trip, she randomly chooses 6 albums to make a new playlist. What is the probability she selects 3 R&B and 3 rap? All right, this one I would want to know, is it a permutation or a combination? Okay, well, to be a, we're picking albums, we're not putting them in order, so this one's a combination. Okay, so I know it's a combination. And I want to pick 3 R&B. Well, how many R&B are there total? Okay, there's 18. So we have 18 total, and we are picking a group of 3. And, okay, so and remember means multiply. And I want to pick 3 rap. Well, how many total rap are there? There's 14. And we are selecting a group of 3 rap. All over our total. Okay, remember our total possible outcomes. So this is something we did like yesterday. Now we're doing the probabilities. We have to divide by the total. So the total is there's 32 total albums. Over how many total are we picking? Well, 3 plus 3 is we're picking 6. So another way to look at this is 18 plus 14 is 32. 3 plus 3 is 6. That's how you can get your denominator. Okay. So in this case, 18C3, if we do it on our calculator, is 816 times 14C3 is 364 over my total, which is 906,192. If I multiply my numerator, I get 297,024 over our denominator. And if I wanted to put it as a decimal, it would equal, if I do it on my calculator, 0.328. Okay, so there is my answer. It doesn't look like this is my reduced fraction, so I would want the reduced fraction. So if I do that, I would have 297,024 divided by 906,192. And I'm going to go math. Fraction, it's going to put it in the reduced form. So there's my reduced answer. 884 over 2,697. So that answer or this decimal is acceptable. All right, 3B. Still talking about Julie. She now has selected 6 albums. Okay, so she's already picked her 6, of which are 3 R&B. So we got Mary J. Blige, Michael Jackson, and Aretha Franklin, and 3 rap: Dr. Dre, Eminem, and 50 Cent. So if she randomly selects an album to be played, and each album is equally likely to be selected, what is the probability that she will play a Michael Jackson R&B album and an Eminem rap album as her first 2 albums? Okay, so now we are taking our albums and putting them in an order. Okay, so in this case, order matters. So it is a permutation. Okay, so order matters. So since order matters, I'm going to pick my first 2. It doesn't tell me what order it can be. So Michael Jackson or Eminem is the first one. Okay, so really I have 2 spots. And for my first 2 spots, it's either Michael Jackson or Eminem. So if I pick the first one here, there's 2 to choose from. And the last one, there's only 2. Then for my last 2, for my last 4, because I'm playing all 6, I have 4 spots. How many albums do I have to choose from if I know I'm playing these 2 first? Well, there's 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. All over. This one is a permutation. Okay, so how many total albums do I have? 6. And how many total am I selecting? 6. So that's one way to set it up. Another way to think about it is, okay, we want to play a Michael Jackson and an Eminem as my first 2. So I'm really looking only at 2 albums, and I am putting them in an order of 2 times. Then I have the last of my albums. There's 4 albums being put in an order of 4 all over my total. Okay, well, we're taking 6 albums and we're putting them in order. These 2 things mean the same, whichever way you want to think about it. Okay, if you go ahead and do this on your calculator, how many ways? Well, 2 times 1 is 2. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24. So it's 2 times 24. And this is really 6 factorial, which is 720. So as a reduced fraction, it's 48 over 720, but if I reduce it, I get 5 over 35. And as a decimal, it's 0.114 or 11.4%. So it's 11.4%. She'll have an R&B as Michael Jackson, and then or Eminem as her first two, and then everything else afterwards. Okay, so same scenario, but two different problems and how they're asked. So this one I'm just picking them, not putting them in order. Combination. Here I am putting them in order that I'm going to listen to them. It's a playlist, so it's a permutation. Okay. Example 4. A board game is played with tiles with letters on one side. There are 56 tiles with consonants and 42 letters with vowels. Each player must choose 7 of the tiles at the beginning of the game. What is the probability that a player selects 4 consonants and 3 vowels? Okay, see that I have the word and, so I know I'm going to have to multiply. And I ask myself, am I picking a group or am I putting them in order? I'm just picking a group. So this one is a combination. Okay, so combination. And let's go ahead and we're going to pick 4 consonants. Well, how many consonants total do I have to choose from? There are 56. I'm selecting a group of 4. And, so times 3 vowels. So how many vowels? There's 42 vowels. And I am selecting 3 of them. So we multiply them over my total. Once again, we can add these two together to get our total. 56 plus 42 is 98. So I have 98. And I am selecting how many total tiles? 7. So once again, 56 plus 42 gives me my total on the bottom, 98. And 4 plus 3 gives me my other total on the bottom. So when I calculate this out, I'm going to write it down here, we get 56C4 is 367,290 times 100 or 11,480 all over 98C7. It's a really big number. 13834413150. I did not get the reduced fraction for this. I just wrote down the decimal, which is 0.305. But you'd want to, if you want to give me the fraction, give the reduced fraction. Okay, that is example 4. It's combination. We're just picking a group. We're not putting them in order. Example 5. Okay, for next semester, Alicia has signed up for English, Pre-Calc, Spanish, Geography, and Chemistry. If class schedules are assigned randomly and each class is equally likely to be at any time of day, what is the probability that Alicia's first 2 classes in the morning will be pre-calculus and chemistry in either order? So, this one, I asked myself, does order matter? If I take calculus first hour, or sorry, pre-calc first hour versus second hour, yeah, that's going to matter. So this one, order matters. So that makes it a permutation. All right, so let's go ahead. We're saying the first 2 classes have to be pre-calc and chemistry in any order. So when it's a permutation, we can go ahead and put our line out. Okay, so I'm saying the first 2 have to be pre-calc and chemistry. Well, my first hour, I have 2 choices. It can be either one. Okay, once I put one of them in first hour, if I say this is chemistry, then this one, there's only one choice. Times, now, how many other classes do I have to select from? There's 5 total, so I have 3 more. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so there's 3 other options. 3 times 2 times 1. All over my total. How many total classes are there? 5. And I am putting them in a group of, and I'm putting them in a line of 5. The other way you can do this one, whichever way you want to think about it, is it's the same way. I look at my first 2 classes. I'm selecting them first. It's a permutation. Picking 2 classes have to be in the morning, putting them 2 in a row. Then I look at my last 3, and I'm putting them 3 in a row. It's a permutation. I don't know why I wrote C. Putting them 3 in a row. All over my total, 5P5. They literally mean the same thing. So when I calculate this one out, this will give me 2 times 6. And this is really 5 factorial, which is 120. So I have 12 over 120, which is 1 over 10, or 0.1. Okay. So that is example 5. The next thing we need to talk about is theoretical and experimental probability. Okay, so determine using theoretical probability is determined using mathematical methods and assumptions about the fairness of coins, dice, and so on. Okay, so if we're flipping a coin 10 times, theoretically, what should our results be? We should have 5 heads and 5 tails. Okay, so that's theoretical. Experimental is when you actually do it and you observe what happens. So when you flip a coin 10 times and it lands on 7 heads and tails only 3 times is what that should say. That is an example of experimental. You actually did it. These are your results. Theoretically, in theory, you should get a head 50% of the time and a tail 50% of the time. Okay, so if a hand of 4 cards is dealt from a standard deck of cards, what is the probability that all 4 cards are hearts? So in this case, we're thinking theoretical. Okay, so 4 cards are hearts. So are we putting them in order? No, we're putting them in groups. So how many hearts are there? It's 1 suit, so there's 13 hearts. And we are selecting 4 at a time to put in a group over how many total? There's 52 cards, and we are selecting a total of 4. So this is, if I calculate, 715 over 270,725. And as a decimal, 0.0026. So that means there's 0.26% of you getting a hand of 4 hearts. Okay. And then you can find the reduced fraction also if you wanted to do it that way. Example 7. If 2 dice are rolled, what is the probability you will roll a sum of 5? Is this a theoretical or experimental? Okay, well, we didn't actually do it, so I would say this one is theoretical. So we would have to say to get a sum of 5. Okay, so here's our little chart with our all of our options. The way I like to think about it is, let's say we have a, is this purple? Purple dice. This is our purple dice. I roll that one, okay? And then I have a red dice, and I roll that one, okay? So if I have a purple and I have a red, okay, what can I get for sums? Well, on my purple, I would think, well, my sum of 5, here's 1 plus 4. So that's when my purple was 4, my red was 1. But guess what? I could have had a purple of 1 and a red of 4. So those are 2 different options. Okay. Same thing with 2 plus 3 and 3 and 2. And then that would be all my options because I don't have any other options. Remember, dice is 1 to 6. And I can count them on here to get a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Out of how many total? Well, 6 times 6 is 36. Okay, so I have 4 ways to get a sum of 5 out of, I would take each die, multiply it times the total, so I would have 4 over 36, okay, which is 1 over 9, or as a decimal, it's 0.1 repeating. Okay, there is example 7. The last thing we're going to talk about is odds. Odds are another way of stating the likelihood of an event. Suppose the odds against winning a contest are 5 to 2. Okay, it's red 5 to 2. This means that for every chance of losing, there are 2 chances of winning. Okay, so if I have favorable outcomes and unfavorable outcomes, okay, how many possible? For instance, I have 5 to 2. So how many possible outcomes are they? You add them together. So that means for this one, there are 7 possible. Okay. And then suppose each outcome of an event is equally likely. So we would say odds in favor of an event. Okay, we would have number of favorable over number of unfavorable. So you put the favor first. If it's against, you put the number of unfavorable over the favorable. The biggest thing to remember is that the total is when you add them together. Total outcomes. So, example 8. In some skating competition, the order in which competitors perform is determined by a random drawing. Suppose a competition involves 5 skaters with different names. Find the probability that the skaters will perform in alphabetical order. Okay, so probability. We're putting people in order, so this is a permutation. So I would say the total options of putting them in order is 5P5. Now I would ask myself, how many ways can you put them in alphabetical order? There is only one way. So it's 1 over, if you type in 5p5, it's really 5 factorial. It's 1 over 120. This is a probability. Okay. Now B is in odds. Find the odds in favor of the skaters performing in alphabetical order. Okay, well, how many ways can they in favor of performing in alphabetical order? There's only one way. 2, how many ways of not performing in alphabetical order? 119. Remember, these add up to my total. Now it's odds against. So how many ways are there to not be in alphabetical order? There's 119. 2, one way to doing it right. Okay. Now D says probability, so read them carefully, that the skaters will not perform in alphabetical order. Okay, so how many ways can you not be in alphabetical order? 119 over how many total ways? 120. Then part E, suppose the probability of an event is 24%. What are the odds in favor of that event? So let's do in favor. So the event in favor is 24, okay? Percent. So we're going to do in favor. If I am in favor, it's 24%, which is the same as 24 over 100. So it's 24, 2 to be in favor. I need them to add up to 100. So in order to get that value, I would take 100 minus 24, which is 76. Okay, so in favor, it's 24 to 76. But what we need to do is reduce this value. Okay, so I notice they're both divisible by 4, so then I get 6 to 19. So my odds in favor are 6 to 19. So here I just divided each piece by 4. Okay, then it also asks for against. Against is easy. It's just the opposite of 4, so 19 to 6. So there it is, against. All right, that is the end of Unit 5, Video 3. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, have a great day.